So, what's the damage done by one single laptop theft? Well, in 2002, which, blink your eyes, was 6 years ago, the Computer Security Institute and FBI Computer Crime and Security Survey estimated that the average financial loss from a laptop is $89,000. Anybody pay $89,000 for their laptop at Dell? I didn't. Obviously, the devil's in the data. So I think that's pretty clear by now. 2003, the annual Computer Crime and Security Survey estimated $250,000 as the cost. If you average those two together, you're going to get somewhere between $160,000, $170,000 average damage. So both of these studies are fairly old, and it's a lot worse now. The industry benchmark study is another one by the Ponemon Institute. They're very active in this. They estimate the annual cost of a data breach. And actually, this year, the number's risen significantly. It usually rises at about a 43 to 50% rate every year. This year, they're estimating the per record cost of a data breach, which is going to reflect a number of different costs, I think that some of which have already been discussed, you're pretty familiar with, at $197 per data record. So you take 100,000 data records lost, you multiply that by $197, and it's expensive. You take 26.5 million veterans' information lost, it gets pretty expensive just to send a letter. Okay. One question that's often not asked, though, is what to do about laptops that don't necessarily have this highly sensitive data on it. Obviously, I think we can all agree that it's good to protect laptops that have, or smartphones and other thumb drives, other data-bearing assets that have patient data on them. But the question may still arise as to how sensitive is other data on the laptop, like the email, the My Documents folder. There was already a virus that Robert talked about that's sending the My Documents folder, just as a sample place where a lot of people tend to store their documents, overseas. The computer itself, most people's computer, has all kinds of information that may not be the highest end sensitive data for patients, but it has a number of business plans. A lot of private industry people deal with this. It's got business plans. It's got all kinds of competitive information on there that they wouldn't want their competitors to have. We saw one extortionist already mentioned who stole medical information and wanted to then extort money for not sharing that. Well, as a matter of fact, maybe are we queued up with the question? I'm going to pause and do my first question right now to see in this room how many people. If you have a laptop, if you work with a laptop at all, you may not have sensitive patient information on there, or maybe you do. I won't even ask you to say one way or the other. I simply want to know how comfortable you would feel if your laptop was stolen, oops, and a thief was actually sitting at your keyboard, ready to browse your hard drive, check your email, see what ones, even if he doesn't have your email password, see what email's already stored on there. How comfortable would you feel if that happened? I'll give you a few seconds to answer. You've got very comfortable, somewhat uncomfortable, or very uncomfortable. Survey says somewhat uncomfortable. I think we have a problem, is leading there. Okay, so 45% of people are comfortable, somewhat comfortable, and 55% are on the downside of that. So a lot of this will depend on the perception of security or what your organization may already put in place on the laptop. I would suspect, quick impromptu follow-up question here, I would suspect that most people who said very comfortable probably have some security measures. There are two things, and you don't have to identify who you are, so I can say this. Either you're extremely naive, or you're not, you're very smart, and you already have a number of good security measures on your laptop, and that's probably describing all of you. You have, your IT department has already installed functionality on the laptop to help secure that information. You have a lot more feeling of comfort if a laptop was stolen. For most people, it's panic time, and we've seen some headlines that probably caused some heads to roll from organizations who've lost.